Hello, so here I am again. I came here to talk about this um this understanding God has put in my understanding some about in the past 3 weeks. So somewhere in the past 3 weeks, um, so I had an argument with my mom, wherein she came into my room and she was fighting me over something, and she was saying. Uh, she was fighting with me over something, and then I told her to leave my room. So I called this room that I am living in as my room. I told her to leave my room and not fight. I told her that she could leave and that I did not want to fight with her because she could not be uh, answered to in that moment, as whatever she was saying was not uh, it was not really an issue, or that fight did not have to be there. So I told her to leave my room so that the fight is no longer there. And then she said that it was not my room. So to that, I answered, or what came to my mind was that I actually inherited this space from my grandfather, from my father's father. My father's father, my grandfather had left them, my father and his siblings, and my grandfather's wife, them a home, them a huge home in in the city Rohtak, that is in Haryana. So so that day, within the past few weeks, as I had that argument, as I was asking my mom to leave, I told her that I had actually inherited this space that I was living in, or this room that I was living in, from my grandfather. And that's how I had the right to stay here. And um, so she couldn't be saying that this is not my room, or I had to be giving rent for this room. Now, for the past few months, as I have been working a job. I am so there. I gave more than my full salary to my parents. So I gave them different amounts individually, but it was more than the full salary of the salary of my first month. And I gave it from the loan amount that I took, the loan money that I took, and from that I gave some money to my mom, some to my dad, and the total was more than the salary of my first month, which was about 9 or 10,000. So yeah. Then so that day when we had so okay, so these drones said that day from using they have some, perhaps they're using an AI. They can even, which so AI, it knows uh, how, in what different ways to work to create something, to create an expression, or if you give the task to an AI to create a website, it does. There are several steps involved, but it is able to do that because it is programmed like that. So the different roles that are inside me, they are also programmed like that they can work together, and each drone doing a certain is making a certain movement, and they are actually programmed, uh, perhaps to make those expressions, or perhaps they learned with time how to create certain expressions. That could also be the case, as they are able to use the drones to pull along or push along my skin and create certain expressions that are not mine, that are not mine. We have this, and I have to make an ice tree as well. Yeah. So that day that I had a had an argument with my mom. Then she was standing in the washroom, and I was asking her to leave because I didn't want to fight. I didn't want to have that argument. And I told her that I had inherited this space from my grandfather. so I could live here, and that they didn't have to fight with me. And then, so after she left, so she left after that, and then I saw that I had stood there at the door of the washroom and declared that and made that statement that I have inherited this space from my grandfather, so I can stay here. And I stay here. I have inherited this room from my grandfather, from what he left when he died to my to his children, one of which was my father was one of them. And live in this room and do my work. I live in this room and do my work, and I have inherited this room from my grandfather. So I declared that standing at the that door, and on the other side of the door was standing my mom, and my middle brother was present in the other room that is across the other door at the other end of the washroom. So after that, um, yeah, after that, what had happened that my mom left and I closed the door. She was asking me not to keep the door closed, not to keep the other door of the washroom closed. So after I declared that, I saw that she was not able to enter in through the washroom. Like she stood at the edge of the washroom and her feet were not did not enter into my room. But what she did was she stood with her feet behind the edge of the washroom, and only her hand came in, and she had her upper body bent, and she was saying that the home was built in loan, is built on loan, and this house is built on loan. This house is built on loan. But she could not step inside because standing there, I had declared that I had a right over this room because I inherited it from my grandfather. So yeah, so perhaps whatever evil spirit that was working inside of her that made her fight with me that day, and that was making her say that I had no right to stay here. I was not paying rent or etc. etc. That this was not my room. That evil spirit could no longer say that or could no longer operate in that lie because I declared the truth. Because I declared the truth, standing there at the door, that evil spirit would not operate in that lie. And it had to stand outside it had to stand outside of the edge of that door frame. So it was in the washroom. My mom was in the washroom with her feet behind the edge. And from there she was talking. So after she left, I shut the door, the other door on the opposite side of the washroom that is behind this closed door. And then as I was walking in my room, I actually felt that right. I felt that inheritance being active. I actually felt that as if God was putting in my understanding. That is how I understood that He made it so clear to me. It was something that I had not understood before, that something I did not care about before, or something I did not care about before, something I did not think about before, or I would not want to think about it before because I never thought about what I inherited from my grandfather. So, what is my inheritance from my grandfather or father, or what is my share, etc. And something. That is not how I thought because how I thought was that their responsibility of my parents was to make me in was to uh, care for me as a child and make me as a capable person who can provide for who can take care of herself as an adult with good moral values. So that is what I thought that their responsibility was. They had fulfilled that responsibility, so I did not really think that uh, I should be having some inheritance, or that is not what I cared about because they had done their main job. So yeah, so that is also how now I am walking with uh, without putting burdens on my mom and my dad. The only thing I can pay them for, pay my dad for, is the electricity bill for this room. I don't. I have a fan and there are lights, and mainly my laptop. So it would be about 1 or 2,000 at max, 1,000 at max, because that is how my electricity used to be when I used to live in a rented room with no AC. And but there I had a induction heater on which I used to cook sometimes whatever I had to cook on the pan that I had got there. The pan that is uh, so that pan, yeah, that pan. In that pan, which pan? Yeah, that pan. That pan that you see there, that is the pan I bought in that rented room, and I used to cook things sometimes in that room on that induction heater. It was a RK, one room kitchen. And now, from this time that I am in, this time frame or this time that I am living in, it also reminds me of a dream that I wrote about when I was living in A16, A16 Vijayanagar double story in Delhi. And that was about in 2022. So this is a dream I received somewhere in 2022. And in that dream, I had a similar pan. So this pan that you see, that pan, or this that pan was like that pan, and inside it were so seen some like what was shown in the dream was leftovers of some candles, but as if when you burn a candle, whatever is left. So there were a lot of white candles there, uh, and um, it was placed on an induction heater, and those candles were burning. And while it was happening, I was moving quickly from one place to another. I was washing dishes, perhaps, and frequently I was looking at my nails like this. I was looking down at my nails, but in that dream, my nails had so they were trimmed properly, but instead of these, uh, and there was nail paint on them, but it was not the nails were not fully covered by that, as some of it had, as it had must have been some time. In that dream, the way the nail paint was, it showed that it had been some time that I put that nail paint on, and it was the red nail paint. In that dream, I looked down at my on my nails, and I saw red nail paint, as if there had been some days. So that's why the paint had worn off from below the bottom. And I saw, and then I was moving around. I was washing dishes. At the beginning of the dream, I was we were in a room with a bed, and where my mom was standing on the other side across the bed, I was standing on this side. My mom was standing there. I was standing on this side, and uh, she was putting the bed sheet or uh, she was making the bed sheet rise over the bed, making the bed sheet spread right over the bed. She lifted the mattress and she was putting the bed sheet, the leftover cloth of the bed sheet, is below the mattress so that it stays at place. And as she did so, I was also doing the same at the other end of the bed. And both of us, and she was looking at me and she said with a righteous conviction, she was saying with a righteous conviction, Bharat Ratna, Bharat Ratna. And as she said that, I was looking at her with uh, um, I was silent and I was looking at her as if there was something to be sad about, or I was quiet and I was looking at her as if there was something to be sad about. Yeah, and yeah, so I There was something in my mouth. I was eating my food, and then I had to make this live stream. And I have to make my iced tea as well. I will go and quickly return. I will go and quickly add water and ice and return in a while. I've talked about the inheritance about this room. I will return in a while. Mhm.
राधिका रोटी ले ले
मेरे पास एक रखी है एक रोटी वहां पे बची हुई है
जा
एक रोटी बची हुई है
और ले ले सब्जी ले ले वैसे सब्जी खाते नहीं तो
और, मुझे मतलब मेरे पास एक बची हुई है वहां पे मैं वो खा लेती
आलू ले
I have added water and ice cubes. These are the ice cubes from the new ice tray that I had bought, the power shaped ice tray uh, with heart shaped depressions. So here's my iced tea. Just simply. So it tells me how much is left, and there is the I have the lid for this as well. I use this one when I want the liquid to be cold for a longer while. Yeah, but yeah, I use this with this as well, but there is already something in this, so I did not use this. It had to be washed, and this is a smaller one inside. It has this one. This cover is there for this one. It came with this, but it doesn't fit into this. Doesn't fit into this. And also when I want to see how much is left and um, the quantity is low, small, then I use this mug as well. I got it, received it from uh, delivery. I had, yeah, something was delivered in this, then I didn't throw it, I kept it for future use. I am glad that I did that. Yeah, so that is for this. So I had to make a video about it that that uh, on that day that I uh, wanted my mom to not fight with me. After all that, after all that argument, after that fight or argument, when she left, I was moving around in my room, and it was so clear in my understanding. For the first time, I felt that I actually had right over the space, but I actually inherited this from my grandfather. That I actually had inherited this from my grandfather. Yeah, so and it was in my understanding for the first time. But whether I looked at it or not, it was present there for real. Real. It was present there for real and was still active.